Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, the space for entrepreneurs on a quest for unwavering certainty and purpose. I'm your host, Lauren, and each episode is a compass guiding you through authentic conversations, unraveling the mysteries of your human design chart, and offering tools from the remarkable guest. Join me as we embark on a journey to manifest greatness and create a life aligned with our deepest purpose. This is the space where misfits find their enlightenment. Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have Colleen. She is a soul mission activator. Welcome, Colleen. So happy to have you here today. So let's get started by kind of sharing your personal experience that led you to or on to your spiritual path.
Yeah, well, I claim like 14 years ago that I hired my first spiritual mentor, which I did. But I'm like, I swear I had more spiritual mentors before that, but I just can't even remember them or like attune to any of that. But I'd gotten into a situation where I was working with a mentor in his business structures. And there was this woman that came in to do some clearing work. And I just kept getting pulled to ask her to do a session with me. And I didn't have any idea what it actually was. Like, I'd never been aligned in a space to like hire a spiritual mentor. Like, I was into the law of attraction, and like The Secret had just come out around that time, and it was one of those things. So I was kind of like in the stuff and understanding a little bit about conscious creation, but I was never like, and I knew I had spirit guides. Like, I kind of knew that there were some things there, but I wasn't in a space of like really understanding. And I had to convince her actually to take me on as a client, because at the time I had an entity that was in my field, and she doesn't deal with any of the shadow work, but she just kept hearing, you need to help her. And so she came over, we did a session, she did this like clearing on me, and she's like, I just need you to understand your whole life is about to change. And all I knew was I had to say yes. And it was so right, like the whole entire journey. But it'll be 15 years this year that I saw her for the first time, like May long weekend up in Canada. And I just remember that day, such a pivotal day of the whole entire journey starting. So it's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. So can you kind of tell us about, like, so some of the listeners probably know what this means, but some of them don't. When you call yourself or that is your title, is a soul mission activator, what does that really involve? Like, what do you do? What are some of the healing work or modalities that you do?
Yeah. So, well, all of us are souls incarnated on earth in these human forms. And every single person that comes to the earth experience has a reason to be here. So there's certain learnings, there's certain imprints. I call it the puzzle piece. We all have our puzzle piece, and we're on the journey of discovering what the puzzle piece actually is on earth, and how do we use it, and how do we amplify it, and how do we paint it the colors that are necessary to fit into the grid. And my job is to help people really align in that, is to understand what they're here, to have confidence, to be able to hold their own power, and to be able to really own their truth inside of the whole, what I call mechanism of the earth experience. And I do this through multiple ways: programs, offerings, one-to-one work. I'm trained, and I do train people in the Akashic Records, so I certify in them. I channel a lot of quantum coding, light language stuff. So I kind of open up the book and be like, what does this person need in order for us to clear them, move through, remove all the blocks, get them in alignment, have them believe in themselves and all the things. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually, when you say like Akashic record work and like, light language, I actually I started out as like a Theta Reiki master.
Mhm.
And then I noticed I wasn't doing uh Reiki the traditional way. I just always felt like I don't need to do it in a certain way, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just never really believed in like doing things a certain way. That could be like my Aquarius side, I'm not really sure, but everything is like non-traditional for me. It always has been. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of like led me to what I do now, right? So
Mhm.
anyhow, I started, kind of diving a little bit deeper in myself, and I would do sessions and people would be like, what are you saying? So like if I'm in theta, I'm
Mhm.
obviously doing light language. It's not something that like English, it's
Yeah.
like, movement. And I was like, I don't know. Did you hear something? So I started recording myself and I was like, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, I'm channeling light language. And I didn't even realize it. Like I actually am not like I'm here present, right? But it's like I'm doing work on the like, a different, realm. So it's like it's just interesting. And the people like that don't understand what light language is, could you kind of like explain that from your perspective?
Yeah, it's like dimensional languages. It's like we channel like one of the main languages I work a lot with dragons, so I channel a lot of dragon energy. Like even yesterday in a masterclass, I was channeling the fire dragons, and their language is different than other dragons, we'll say. But it's like a dimensional language. It's like if you think about Spanish or if you think about Italian, compared to English, it's just another way to speak. So this is dimensional languages, and each realm, we'll call it, or each deity may hold a certain vibration in their language. And I also channel a very old school indigenous language that's been lost off the earth right now. But I also have a lot of indigenous roots. So it
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense. And I've got an album launching this year with light language and instruments. And it's actually really cool what came through inside of that. So yeah, I would just say it's just like another language that is quantum
Yeah.
coded, that moves through stuff really easily. It's like you think about the hot knife and butter. It's like, we need to clear, we need to clear, we need to activate. Like it's like super
Yeah.
quick because we're
Yeah.
channeling from the divine, like from direct dimensional codes. So yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, I've noticed it to be so much easier than any other work I've ever done,
Yeah.
especially, and I love that you channel the dragon language because of
Mhm.
course it's like the year of the dragon. So it's
I
like
know.
actually it's very synchronistic. Like I love that for you and your clients. So that's also, and I
Oh,
can't wait
thank
to
you.
hear I'll be I'll be like, watching for that album because I would love to listen to it.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you. I'm dropping the first single on the 15th of March. So
Oh, okay.
I'll
So
send it
very quick.
over.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send it over. I've already
Okay.
have everything recorded. So
Oh,
it's
okay. Well,
around. It's around in the
yeah,
field.
well, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, like, if somebody were to ask you, like, so through your programs or teachings or your channeling abilities, when did you kind of like in your spiritual journey, like, when did you realize that when earlier you said about, you just knew you had to say yes. If somebody came to you, because I've noticed a lot of my clients would come to me or people come to me like, I don't know what my mission is. I don't know where I'm here, and of course there's obviously there's trauma attached to something or, we kind of have to do some, you know, what is your passion? What is your, desire?
Yeah.
Where would you kind of start with somebody about like owning their unique tools or their vibration? Like, where would you start so they can embody their own light?
Yeah, well, like most of the time, if someone's brand new in my world, I'm doing an Akashic Records clearing on them. So if you guys don't know what the Akashic Records are, they're like the filing cabinet to your soul. So when we open them, obviously as a practitioner or as a guide, I need your permission in order to do that. So I'm not just walking around opening up records or anything like along those lines. But it's like it's all of a sudden I get access to everything, all your past lives, future lives, dimensional lives, contracts, like any spells, any karmic debt, anything that has happened to your soul or will be happening to your soul inside of this timeline space, let's call it. Technically, it's all happening at once, anyways, but let's just call it
Right.
linear time for this adventure we're on. If you hear puppies growling and wrestling, I apologize. They are 14 weeks old and they are
Oh, I
right now
can't.
in the middle of like a wrestling match running around the couch. Okay, so just in case you start to see stuff falling over and things, just them. It's all good. This is what happens in my
It's like
world.
your plants
I know.
falling.
Yeah, I
It's
was
like,
like,
oh, it's okay.
don't worry about it. It's all good. I'll clean that up later. So I would usually start with that because most of the time they're coming to me and they've got a lot of imprints, right? So like you said, a trauma is one thing, which is stored in the emotional bodies a lot of the time and in physical form. But I work a lot energetically in more of the spiritual pathway. So like I want to make sure our energy's cleared first before we dive in. And then inside of the work that I normally do is that we'll do a session together to dive into the records to start asking questions. Like, what does this mean? How does this show up? How does this move within your field? Like, you're doing this kind of work. Is that relevant? And then there's always pieces. Like, our whole entire life is pieces. We've gathered things. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, that course I took that one time. And I do remember that like, and it's like all of it starts to come together in this beautifully wrapped basket, we'll call it, for us to now bite into to move within. So that's kind of where I would lead through.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love when I started doing Akashic Records work, I didn't realize like when you named all of the stuff, you couldn't find anything. I didn't realize how many things that were like blocking me.
Oh, yeah.
So it's so interesting when I do like what a session with a client, like if I say, like, do you want to do Akashic Records, like, because if they it could be, I don't know, we could just be doing healing, but it's like the first thing I usually hear is the same thing, like I need to figure
Mm,
out what is going on because there's a lot going on.
yeah.
And most of the time when I envision people's Akashic Records, it's like a dark hallway, it's like really dusty, cobwebby, like, people are like, what does it look like? And I'm like, well, it looks like a really dark library of books that have like shit everywhere. Like it, or
Yeah.
some people's, if they have done healing work, some are like really neat. And then it's
So
like,
funny.
what's going on over here? Yeah. So it's kind of like, I love the way that you explain that because, I feel like Akashic Records for me was, I needed to do that first.
Hmm.
And, when everybody's talking about like on this online space about Akashic Records and soul and all that stuff,
Yeah.
I don't think people realize the in depth, like the answers and the wisdom that you can find, especially because now I'm going through the shamanic journey. So it's kind
Mm,
of similar. A lot deeper, like
yeah.
the Chamber of Wounds and all that stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh God, this is stuff I like avoided.
Yeah.
What hallway was this in? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
It's
that's
so
cool.
true. And there's so much there. Like I do a lot of, I call it past life exploration work.
Yeah.
Because we're finding now the timelines have merged so much that if we haven't done healing work in those other past lives, they're coming forward
Yeah.
now, creating distortion in the field now. And it's really cool because I guide, so I drop them into the space and they go through their Sacred Heart Temple, which is a pathway, and it has all
Mhm.
these doors. And each of the doors are different, and the consistencies are different, and the structures are different, right, for the
Yeah.
doors. So it's
Yeah.
just really cool, the visualization you just gave me there, in connection with how you see the records too. It's so fun.
Yes, it is. I'm like, well, don't go through that door. Not
Yeah.
that door. We're not, no,
That
not
one's
yet.
not for today.
Yeah, I'm like, we
Like,
need a little bit of time for that one. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I love
So,
that. Usually it's me, like when I'm there, it's kind of like, don't, not, no. Like, I'm like, okay, no, not that
not
one.
that door. Yeah, not that door.
So, what are some of the challenges that some of your clients feel, and how can you kind of support them, like to overcome some of these obstacles?
Yeah, I'm seeing two really big consistencies right now in the work that I do is that they don't feel worthy to actually have the life that they desire, and they don't believe that they can actually make it really happen, that it could be as easy as we know it to be. Because abundance is a divine birthright, right? And abundance in all forms, not just monetarily, but it is like in everything, in energy and love and the way we connect all the things. And the earth experience has taught us that everything is in lack, that we need to fight and force ourselves to make stuff happen, that we need to conform and live in boxes and be, these little lemmings just following the rules. And not that I'm against some rules, but a lot of them are keeping us tight in infrastructures, like not allowing us to expand. So the two main things I'm seeing right now is people aren't feeling worthy and they don't believe. So really stepping into the conversations and then allowing them to actually feel what it feels like when they can be worthy. And a lot of the time that's going back to like a past life where they held this so deeply rooted that they can understand and feel it and move it through. But I'm seeing a lot of this, and we are worthy because we were born, and we can have and be and do everything that's inside of us already because it is ours. You didn't just pick up a dream of someone else's. It's already yours. It's already in you. And I live by the philosophy, if it's in you, it's for you. So now it's about really stepping into the space to believe that you can be, do have all of that connection that you already see inside of you. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I've been saying that a lot to people too. That it's like your birthright. Like one of your
Hmm.
birthrights is to be abundant,
Yeah.
not just money, like you said, right?
Yeah.
It's with anything. It's
Yeah.
like if you whatever you want in your life, you can have. And I feel like it's like that lack mentality, this, that our parents have put on us, that society has put on us, like all of that stuff. And I just had actually, I'm going to call out my boyfriend on this, but I just had this conversation with him because he
Yeah.
said, Lauren, things don't just like money doesn't just grow on trees. And I was like, but it does in a sense. It
Yeah.
can, you know? And I'm like, not literally, like, not, I don't, can't go outside and there's money on my tree. But like, he's like, you just attract things much different. And I was like, well, what does that look like for you? And he said,
Mm,
I can't just have $1,000 in my bank account. And I said, but
mm,
you can. Like you
yeah.
could tomorrow,
Yeah.
if you tell the universe, I need this because I need to go do this, you will somehow, some way, it could not be in your bank account, but it could be in a different way of like an opportunity to make that money. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yep.
I always tell my clients that you have to be like open to opportunities. So if somebody's asking you, like if you're a yoga instructor, for instance, I had a conversation with my client on Monday about if you're a yoga instructor, you if you pick up more classes or you do events or
Mhm.
whatever, like that's another stream of income. So I
Yep.
always tell people, like, where can you actually monetize things in your life where you're giving your knowledge and wisdom out
Yep.
versus getting paid for it, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, and I realized for me, I was giving so much away for free that that's where I could have monetized or
Mm,
can monetize a lot of my stuff, which is
yeah.
why it's so much easier for me to be like, I can create this is what I'm going to do, and that type of thing. And for him, he's like in this transition that his 9 to 5 is the only
Yeah.
stream of income,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We do help his dad run like a concession stand, so he has that streaming income. But I'm like, that's the only two streams of income. How is the universe going to give you $1,000 if you're not willing to be? So he's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I just feel like I have to say that because somebody must need to hear it. He's going to be like, why did you
Yeah.
even talk about that on your podcast? But I just feel like that is that is like that is it's very irrelevant. It's very relevant to, I feel like, what everybody's going through. Like if it's selling a
Hmm.
product, if it's selling content, if you're making videos and you're dancing on TikTok, why are you not getting paid for it? Right. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's your energy and time. And I feel like, and now you could dance on TikTok and make millions. Like,
Yeah.
whatever,
It's a
make music.
thing.
Yeah. Like, and I said to him, he loves making music. And I was like, so then start making music and get paid for it. Right. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Love it. So
Yeah.
good. Mhm.
Um, so a couple other questions I have that had came up when we were talking was, what role do you feel, like, do you believe that community or like collective support plays in the journey of like being a sovereign being or empowerment?
Yeah, so I actually just did a video on this. So I do a conversations with Colleen video on my Instagram every single
Okay.
day. And I drop in a reel every day on something that's dropping into the collective. And literally it was 2 days ago, I talked about the Lone Ranger energy, like the lone wolf energy, and how through the spiritual collective, I call it, that we're moving through now, it's no longer necessary. Yeah, we have to do our sovereign being work and we've got to do our own healing work and move our own light through. But when lights come together that are lit up, they make a bigger ripple effect than just one person. And we're seeing these communities start to come up, these really deep rooted soul connections come together now for movement on the earth. And it's no longer bloodline. It is actually family oriented in different ways. Like we're creating different types of family units in the way that we connect and come together. And it's going to be necessary for the evolution of the earth experience for more of us to come together and to continue to shine brighter. Because it's not just me and you shining brighter, it's actually then 10 times the two of us together, right? So it's
Yeah.
like the more evolved we get and the more aligned we get in our sovereignty, the more we light up the earth, the more that ripple effect goes through and the more distortion we're clearing. And then the people that are maybe never going to be awakened, but maybe they then drop that anger towards their father, which is a huge energy that they've been holding, and they can start to light lighter without even knowing what that even means. So it's really important for the experience for all of us to be
Yeah.
together.
When I
Mm,
had asked that question, it was like, ask her this, because I feel like uh community is huge, especially when you said it's not like your bloodline, because
yeah,
I've been connecting, and I'm not sure how much you know about human design, but
yeah,
I feel like I've been connecting a lot. There's a reason why. I don't know what the reason is right now. Like I don't know the exact, like I feel like it's just a bigger reason
yeah,
that your profile is 6'2", and I have a 6'2" profile. And I feel like, and if I have a collective of like 100 people that I've spoke to, just say, I mean, I speak to more people like than that on a daily, like not daily, but like monthly basis. I actually started making spreadsheet, which is, my boyfriend would be like spreadsheet. I actually made a spreadsheet because I don't do spreadsheets. He does. And I started putting people's profiles. I don't know why. And I started like keeping track of who I've been talking to.
Yeah.
And a majority of the people, like 90% of the people are 6'2" profiles. And I was like, why is this?
Wow.
So I'm like, there has to be some reason, like you said, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be creating a community of people that are 6'2" profiles. Obviously, the 6'2" just
Mhm.
means role model hermit. Maybe I'm supposed to help create a community like that. I know the reason why I'm doing this podcast is because it's a sense of community. I feel like the people that I interview, the people that listen, it's all about like community, people that are listening, that have been interviewed. I feel like they're like soul family to me, right? Like I feel like I
Yeah.
know them before. And every single call that I usually get on, like if it's teaching them their human design or just helping them heal, or if there's just a client or whatever, they're like, I feel like I've known you forever. It's like you're my friend and I've
Mm.
never met you a day in my life. And I was like, well, our souls must know each other. Like that's the best.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they know about, all of that. So I'm like, I don't want to freak them out. So I'm like, oh, our souls might know each other. Like, and they're like, sure, like that actually makes sense. So I love that you did that. So if anybody is curious about, community and the collective support, go look at Colleen's video, because I feel like we do need community. It is, I think it's very healing, like on a deeper level. I feel like not just, you know, um, on like a 3D level. I feel like
Oh,
it
yeah.
heals parts of your soul, I feel like. Yeah.
Well, and I can like really speak to this because I've been a lone ranger, like lone wolf most of my life.
Yeah.
And, I only had a really tight like amount of people, one, two people maybe that I could talk all of my woo craziness with. And so
Yeah.
I still would curve a lot of the things that I felt or see. Like I was helping parents telepathically communicate with their kids, like I don't even know, like 13 years ago. Like, and teaching them how to, because their kids were nonverbal, and teaching them how to actually communicate and hear their kids' thoughts. And most people would think I was nuts, like, so
Yeah.
I didn't actually bring this into the world and speak it out into the world. I call it the spiritual closet for a long time. So I only had a
Yeah.
tight amount of people. And over the years, it's like, and even just this past year, coming into like the latter part of 2023, I was called to start creating communities. So like I have a free spiritual warriors group on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm meant to serve that way now. And I'm like, but I just don't want to. Are you sure? And like, cause I don't want to, like, I still have a little bit of that in me. They're like, it's time. And I'm like, all right, like,
Yeah.
so I listen, but sometimes I like push back against the listening, but it's necessary now. People want to be in communities that understand them, that they can be
Yes.
themselves,
Yeah.
and all of that is so true.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I feel like, in my world, maybe I'm like delusional a little bit, but I feel like there's more people that understand or going more towards, I don't want to be Christian, I don't want to be
Mhm.
religious, I want to be more spiritual. And I
Yeah.
feel like that is the paradigm shift, I feel like, with everything, because, I've noticed a couple people that I know they're like, I want to create a community that we can get together, like just in different, like even in the States, here in the US, like, I know one girl that created a community of like moms, or it's like mom
Mhm.
empowerment group or women empowerment group. And I feel like, it doesn't matter if you're like, if you're a mom or not, if you're just a woman. I feel like women supporting women, there is some, people that don't, it's out of their own wounding or jealousy or whatever, that they won't, connect with you. But I
Yeah.
feel like I love to see it more, like it's
Yeah.
so much more, I'm going to support you. People give you hate on the internet and they're like, they don't even know you and they give you support. And I love that because it's never been like that before, especially
Yeah.
the internet being so masculine.
Oh, yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
true. I totally agree. Yeah.
So, looking forward, or looking ahead, I should say, what are some like aspirations or visions of the future, that you see that could help somebody that is starting, or might be like, oh, I'm kind of interested. What are some like visions that come to you, or
Mhm.
aspirations that you could give them?
Well, we're coming into a pretty dense energy time right now. And I say that with so much love and respect for the movement that we're creating in the world. is because the more that we light up and awaken, the more we awaken in all the dimensional parts. And we live in a world of polarity, meaning when there's all this light, there's also all this darkness. And when the light shines brighter, the darkness shines brighter. And that's just how it works. So as we're moving through these next few years, it's really about self-sovereignty and your light. What lights you up? Where in your life are you conforming right now? What are you really hearing and seeing for your own life moving through? And literally starting to take those small actions that start to yield results. And I think sometimes we want to do it all. And some people are awakening and all of a sudden one day they wake up and they have all their gifts heightened. Like they literally come out of like their dream state and all of a sudden they see spirits and can hear spirits, and it like happened overnight. And I've seen it happen for some people. So sometimes it's intense. So all I'm going to say to people is to bring it back into your breath and into the purity of the present moment, and then start to file through what is necessary and needed at this moment of time for you to continue to grow, illuminate, understand. And like we've been talking about community, find a place, find a mentor, find a guide, find a community, find some information to be able to help serve you. And sometimes, budgets restrict a lot of this, but there is so much content out there that you can find that will assist you to be able to hold this until you find the right energetic connection. But we're no longer in a place of like compromising ourselves. And I just want to make sure I say that too. If you are anywhere in your life compromising yourself right now, you are out of aligned vibration. So it's time to really start to look at our life that way and start to make the choices and decisions that are aligned in our light. Hopefully that was the answer that you were looking for.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
I love whatever answer, I was gonna say, whatever answer came out.
Comes
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, was the perfect thing. I was gonna say, yeah, I do 100% agree when people still tell me, I don't feel like I feel like I have to stay here. And it's just like, well, you're out of alignment, right? So like, let's
Mm.
figure out how we can get you in alignment, or, and it usually comes from money, budget, and
Oh,
I was like,
usually.
there's so much, and I feel like, and usually that could just be a money wound, or, some trauma, or like a witch wound or something like that, that's coming in, that it's like, but how about if you just tell yourself, what if this will help me? What if this wasn't like
Mhm.
that? Like, what if, not usually like that, not that overthinking, what if, that's just like, what if it could be good? Like, what if it works out? That kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because usually that fear is what is stopping them.
Yeah.
And how much do they want it, right? Like, how much do you really want to change? And I feel like most people that I talk to are like, I want to, if you're like 10%, that's good. But if you're like 90, 100, I'm like, okay, I can't work with 10% because I'm not
Yeah.
getting you to 90. Like, that's not my job. I'm not here to
Yeah.
wake you up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
that was my job. I'm like, I'm here to wake everybody up. Nope, that's not my job. That's the universe's
Not
job.
my job either. No, they come to me when they're like, and I,
Yeah,
I don't like the word ready because I don't think we ever are ready. Like,
no,
I don't think I ever said, sign me up for this dark night of the soul I'm about to go through tonight. Like, I don't
yeah,
like it's happening because it's aligned, and I haven't found the right word for ready yet. I will find a word that is going to make some sense in the space of this, but they
yeah,
come to me too when they're like in the space of an evolution. And they don't have excuses when they're with me because it's like, I disclaimer going, guys, I'm not in it to just, mess
right.
around, have a couple sessions, and you think you might want to. It's like, we're on a timeline. And if you add to my life, it's time. Like, it's like, if you're through the gates in my energetic world, you're being called here. So we got some stuff to do, which
Right.
means like there's activations that need to happen at this very moment that are calling you forward into that
Yeah.
pathway. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like sometimes it could be a test for me too. Or it's
Mm.
like when, because normally before, I should say, before when I first started like doing energy work, it would be like, I felt like so out of alignment because I'm not the person that's going to chase people. I'm all like, I feel like I'm just here. And then like people will come to me, and then, that's just how I've always worked. So sometimes it would be like a lot of people gravitate towards me. Some people are just like here and there. Some people, it would be like a time that I need to do my own, like my own healing. So I,
Mm.
can't guide people like, in a sense that I need to kind of focus more on myself. And I noticed that, if it's like, it comes down to money too. It's like, these are my prices, this is my program, and I'm very confident on like, this is what I'm going to charge you, this is what we're going to do, because I know I'm confident in that. But before, it was like, this is all I'm going to give you. If you can't pay for it, let's figure out how you can pay for it. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
always say, and I still say this, and my clients, they'll be listening to this, and I say that I don't want money to be a reason why you don't work with me.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out a way that you can still work with
We'll
me,
be
and it
integrated,
could
but yeah.
be, yeah, like it
Huh.
could be monthly, it could be weekly, it could be every 3 days, like whatever it is. I'm like, I feel like a lot of people, they go right to like the money, and it's like, oh no, I can't afford that. What? Why? You know what I mean? Like you can,
Yeah.
but so it's like not really excuses. It's kind of like helping them work through their own limiting beliefs, I feel like. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's a powerful place for sure.
yes, yep. So, how can people get a hold of you if they want to find you? Do you have a website? Is it social media that people can connect with you? I'll also make sure that your links are in the description box. Or the
Yeah, I say Instagram's my playground, so that's the
okay.
place I have daily content. I talk about all the things, if people also too are like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I am in my DMs all the time. Like I would love to just hear questions, or if you listen to this podcast and you're like, oh my God, Colleen, I love what you like, just send me a DM because I always love to know like who's listening and what did they get from it, because we're all on a mission of lighting lights right now and like really helping people illuminate. So it's like if this imprint did something for you, I want to know because sometimes my ego likes to be stroked too. So I'm just gonna honor
Yeah.
that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hello. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the point? What's the point of being here? No.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you'll have the Instagram link in the show notes as well. But if you just search
Okay.
my first and last name, Colleen Lindberg, you'll find me. But yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode with Colleen on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. You can leave a review and then share with somebody that you feel that will gain knowledge from listening to this episode. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you resonate with this conversation and found it insightful, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Your feedback fuels our mission. Remember, your journey to unwavering certainty and purpose is ongoing. Stay connected with us on social media and let's continue this conversation. Let's manifest greatness in our lives. Until next time, this is Lauren from the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Stay enlightened, stay inspired, and keep manifesting your extraordinary path.